The Alkebu-Lan Revivalist Movement presents Africa Speaks with Alkebu-Lan on Galaxy Radio 102.5 FM and GalaxyAfiwi.com, the only de-brainwashing station. Weekly discussions and live debate on all issues affecting the African community at home and abroad. Tune in Mondays 8 to 10 p.m. and have your say as we talk it straight and make it plain. It's live, it's hot, it's scintillating, it's real. It's Africa Speaks with Alkebu-Lan on Galaxy Radio, the only de-brainwashing station.
Tendai Mwari, be thankful unto God. Greetings, Galaxy family. You're tuned into Africa Speaks with Alkebu-Lan. Hosting tonight's program is Brother Shakara and myself, Sister Kai. It's Monday, the 18th of April, and it's 3 minutes past the hour of 8. Alkebu-Lan is known for keeping its finger on the pulse of the community, addressing the most pertinent and controversial issues some radio stations just won't touch. So keep it locked on 102.5 FM, www.galaxyafiwi.com, and join us for the next 2 hours by calling these numbers 07438 154 351 and our new number 07548 508 684. You can text in anytime on the show by texting
07498538784. One more time, that's 07498538784. I'll repeat that one more time, kings and queens. 07498538784.
Tendai Mwari. Yes, sisters and brothers. The discussion this evening is Groundation Day at 50. Where is Rastafari today? Groundation Day at 50. Where is Rastafari today? All will be revealed, brothers and sisters, and all those brothers and sisters, many brothers who have said, deal with Rastafari, talk about His Majesty and, well, brothers and sisters, it's finally come.
Today is the day.
So I hope everybody linking. So if you haven't, this is the opportunity to give somebody a call and say, Alkebu-Lan dealing with Rastafari today. This is the day. Give them a call. Tell them to tune into 102.5 FM or www.galaxyafiwi.com. Tendai Mwari. Let me take this opportunity to welcome my co-host, Shakara. Tendai Mwari Shakara. How's your week been?
Yeah, good. Greetings, Mama Kai. Greetings, Tendai Mwari, to all the Galaxy Radio family locked on right now. As we always say, Uncle Uja Seneb, life, prosperity, and health for African power for all African people. Uhuru means freedom. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari. Tendai Mwari and our resident guest, the spiritual leader of the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist Movement, also co-chair for the Interim National African People's Parliament, and a UK ambassador to the UNIA-ACL, Papa Garvey's organisation, under the leadership of President Senghor Joao Baye. Tendai Mwari, greetings and welcome, Brother Leader Bandaka.
Tendai Mwari, Sister Kai, Brother Shakara, and to all our beloved, beautiful, and treasured listeners, I bring greetings, as always, in the most precious, powerful, and bountiful name of our motherland, Alkebu-Lan, Mama Africa, in the sacred spirits of our most gracious ancestors, and in the prayer for oneness, hope, and prosperity for all African people upon the face of Mother Earth. Africa, to the God of Africa be the glory. It is, as we always say, brothers and sisters, a joy to be an African and a joy and a blessing to be on Galaxy Radio for Africa Speaks with Alkebu-Lan, serving and ministering to the most important people on the planet, the sons and daughters of Africa. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari.
Yo, this is Swiss Soul Solid. Africa Speaks with Alkebu-Lan, Galaxy 102.5. Blaze the fire.
Tendai Mwari. Right, sisters and brothers, this is Africa Speaks with Alkebu-Lan. Before we go into our main subject today, as usual, we like to give a few updates and a few notices, share a few community notices. So, I mean, one of the main ones today, brothers and sisters, and it's quite sad, but this message hasn't come through properly, but maybe you can give that information. But last week we were sharing with you that Brother Gerard was in hospital, and he was in a hospice, and he shared some messages. Brother Leader brought some messages from him that he wanted the community to hear. Well, we're sad to announce today that Brother Gerard Abdullah passed away last Thursday morning, early hours of the morning. And he will be buried tomorrow at the mosque. The funeral is taking place at the mosque in Croydon, opposite the Croydon Hospital. I'm waiting to get the finer details I can share with you.
Tenai. Yes, beloved brothers and sisters, this is a sad announcement that we have to make to the African nation, Africa UK, and to the African world community that our brother sadly has left our earthly company. But of course, we as a people of spirit, we know that there is no such thing in the African consciousness as death. What we call death is a transition from one phase of life to another, from one stage of the cycle of life to another. And we understand that life is a continuous cycle. We speak of the 360 degrees of the life cycle from the womb to the tomb and beyond.
Yes.
And the beyond the bit, brothers and sisters, is important. It means that when our bodies become too weak to continue to house our spirits, the spirits ascend into a higher realm, but continues in its perpetual existence. So we celebrate not only the life of our brother for the 58 years that he spent with us in this phase of the cycle of life we call Earth, our physical existence, but also we rejoice in the ascendancy of the spirit of our brother into the realm of the ancestors. And brothers and sisters, as I shared with us all last week, we were at Brother Gerard's bedside. I'm trying to remember the date, but it was not Sunday, not yesterday, but last Sunday. We were at our brother's bedside, and our brother was in earnest to get the message to his people. For the over 2 hours that Sister Kai and I spent with him, and Brother Kweku and Sister Kinaya, his queen Sister Kinaya, were also with him before we arrived. And for that time, all he talked about was the liberation of our people, the need for us, brothers and sisters, to pull together, to unite as one, and to build institutions, to acquire resources and assets for ourselves. And he was also in earnest to urge us. He begged us to tell the people. One, tell the people, I love them. I love my people, he said. And he went on to stress, even as he told us, I'm sick and I'm dying, and I'm ready to join the ancestors. Those were his words, brothers and sisters. But his message to us, and he only talked about his illness. When we asked him about his illness, all he talked about was his people and the need for us to empower ourselves and to be free. And he begged us to beg the people to unite, to stop the bickering, the fighting, the backbiting, stop tearing each other down, and start lifting each other up. Those were his words in earnest. We had the opportunity to pray with our brother. We gathered around his bed in a circle, and we prayed with our brother. We evoked the spirits of our ancestors, Muduma Mokuru, and we prayed for the strengthening of our brother's soul in particular. and to give our brother the courage to face the challenges that were in front of him. And our brother, you could see that he was at peace with himself. You could see that he enjoyed those moments that we spent with him. So brothers and sisters, we are pleased to share with you, to bring to the Galaxy Airways the spirit of Brother Gerard. We give thanks for his life. We give thanks. We bless and honor the womb of his mother that brought him into earthly being. We bless and we honor the loins of his father that sired him in this phase of the cycle of his immortal and eternal existence. And it only leaves us to say, beloved, in the words and in the wisdom of Mudumu Mukuro, our great ancestors, may the soul of our brother Gerard, well, first, may the spirits of our ancestors gather around him and give him safe conveyance into the realm, into the higher realm of the ancestors, and higher still into the loving arms of Mwari Nyakusika, God the creator of the universe. And may his soul rise like Ra on the wings of Ma'at after a favorable judgment in the council of Asar. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. O. Amen Ra. It is done.
It is done.
Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari. Tendai Mwari.
Yes, indeed, kings and queens, Tendai Mwari, giving thanks for the classical sounds of the man called Burning Spear, taken from the classical film Raka's Jah Not Dead. As we go into the main topic for our show this evening, which is Groundation Day at 50. Where is Rastafari today? Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari.
April the 21st marks the golden jubilee of Groundation Day, marking 50 years since His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I landed in Jamaica as a part of his Caribbean tour that also took in Barbados, Haiti and Trinidad and Tobago. The event marked a watershed in the international profile of the livity known as Rastafari. Now a global phenomenon. Rastafari has its roots in 1930s Jamaica around a confluence of Garveyite Ethiopianism. Those regarded as the main founding fathers of the movement include Leonard Percival Howell, aka Gong-g'un Guru Maragh, also known as Brother Gong, Joseph Nathaniel Hibbert, Herod Archibald Dunkley and Robert Hinds, as well as Paul Erlington, Altamont Reid, Vernon Davis and Ferdinand Ricketts were all either members of or associated with Marcus Garvey's UNIA-ACL. This Garveyism combined with pre-existing Ethiopianism in Jamaica can be traced back to the late 18th century. This trajectory was crystallized by some key proto-Rastafari texts such as the Holy Piby, 1924, by Robert Affley Rogers. The Royal Parchment Scroll of Black Supremacy, 1926, by Fitz Balintine Pettersburg. Rogers, that's Affley Rogers, saw his Afro Athlican Constructive Church as corollary to the UNIA, founded by Marcus Garvey, who he regarded as an apostle of the Creator. For his part, Petersburg penned a searing indictment of European Anglo-Saxon civilization whilst advocating African self-determination. Quote, all the African is to do now is to build anew, get out a new dictionary and a new Bible and a new board of education and a new monument, and the new outfit shall be called Black Supremacy, unquote. As hinted by the likes of Shepherd Affley, Prophetic qualities began to be attributed to Marcus Garvey as the 1920s advanced. Indeed, for many Rasta, his status was confirmed when his look to Africa, where a black king shall be crowned for the day of our deliverance is near, came to pass on November the 2nd, 1930. For that was the date of the joint coronation of Rastafari Makanen, who took on the title Haile Selassie I, the power of the Trinity, and Empress Menin Asfor Walete Georges as Emperor and Empress of Ethiopia of the lineage of King David. Leonard Percival Howell, who is the closest to what can be regarded as a founder of the Rastafari movement, used texts like Petersburg's inspiration for his The Promise Key, 1935, a testament of faith. 2 years earlier, he advanced 6 principles of Rastafari. 1. Hatred of the white race. 2. The complete superiority of the black race. 3. Revenge on the whites for their wickedness. 4. The negation, persecution, and humiliation of the government and legal bodies of Jamaica. 5. Preparation to go back to Africa. And 7. Acknowledging Emperor Haile Selassie I as the supreme being and only ruler of black people. Such teachings, along with preaching of the divinity of Emperor Selassie, put him on a collision course with the Jamaican authorities, leading to his jailing for 2 years in 1934 on charges of sedition and blasphemy. Other founders like Joseph Hibbert, through the Ethiopian Coptic Church and later the Ethiopian World Federation Local 16 as a founding member, and Archibald Dunkley through the King of Kings missionary movement, suffered similar fates at the hands of the colonial administration in succeeding decades. Undeterred and as a demonstration of self-determination, Howell established the Pinnacle Commune in the hills of St. Catherine in the 1930s, harking back to the practice of the Cromanti, also known as Maroon ancestors. The settlement thrived, offering a model of being not of Babylon, i.e. European society, whilst being in it. Pinnacle was self-sufficient, not least due to the cultivation of cash crops, including ganja, which was also a Rastafari sacrament. With the movement now spreading all over the island, other communities of varying size and structure and doctrines were established, but all of them faced stern opposition from the establishment. Pinnacle grew to around 2,000 faithful, but the harassment continued, leading to the final face-off with mass arrest, destruction of the commune, and dispersal of members by the police in 1954. The political independence of the island didn't bring about any substantive change in the government's attitude towards Rastafari. In fact, months after independence, the most serious standoff occurred in West Kingston in April of 1963, known as the Coral Gardens Massacre, an altercation between the police and some Rastafari brethren that appeared to be precipitated on the state's attempt to restrict the movement of Rastas, resulted in the death of a police officer and the burning of a police station. The reprisals were swift. All the brethren involved were apprehended and killed, but the Prime Minister, Alexander Bustamante, went further and gave the order to, quote, bring in all Rastas, dead or alive, unquote. And we quote again, the spaces of Rastafari were ransacked and desecrated. The police and army eagerly invaded all working class neighborhoods and arrested and detained all those who were Rastas. The lockup, jail, and Barnett Street was so full that they were held in the yard, just as the enslaved had been from time to time hosed down with water. The police and military raided all camps and then proceeded to cut the locks of the Rastafari in all parts of Western Jamaica. Against the backdrop of state repression, Rastafari elders and leaders had been engaged with the administration of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I since the 1930s, the fruits of which included the establishment of the Ethiopian World Federation in 1937 and in 1948, the granting of 500 acres of land in Shashamane, Ethiopia, for repatriation. A delegation from Jamaica traveled to see the emperor in 1961 and 1963 to discuss this and other matters. So, the events of the 21st of April 1966 were in stark contrast to what had previously been the case in terms of the representation of Rastafari and engagement with the state. Over 100,000, which equates to more than 5% of the then population of Jamaica, were in attendance to greet the plane carrying His Imperial Majesty at the Palisades Airport. This would be the equivalent of 3 million people descending upon Heathrow or Gatwick, for example. Managing the situation was beyond the capabilities of the state authorities, so they had to call on Rastafari leader Mortimer Planner to coordinate the emperor's descent from the plane and through the assembled masses. As a consequence, there was a Rasta presence at all of Haile Selassie's first subsequent engagements in Jamaica. The arrangements of 1966 did not usher in a new attente cordial between the Rasta movement and the Jamaican government. In fact, by 1969, activist and academic Walter Rodney could say that the Rastafari brethren have, quote, completely and inexorably broken with Jamaican society and its values, unquote. It was similar wherever Rastafari was found. Dominica, with its 1974, which in 1974 prohibited an unlawful societies and Associations Act, also known as the Dread Act, was a case in point, passed by the Patrick John administration and continued under Eugenia Charles. It has been described by some as, quote, one of the most draconian pieces of legislation passed in any part of the world in the 20th and 21st centuries. The law aimed to stem the spread of the influence of Rasta in Dominica by giving police and citizens the right to shoot other citizens on sight without question if those people had dreadlocks and induced fear or mistrust. It sentenced members to 9 months in prison for the hairstyle dreadlocks or dreads or any memorabilia that it identified them as, quote-unquote, dreads. Dreads could be killed or have their locks forcibly cut, in many cases for no better reason than being classified a member of an unlawful society, unquote. Today, few places are as repressive against Rastafari. It could be argued that through the proliferation of reggae music, fashion locks, etc., elements of Rastafari have become quite marketable with the attendant risk of misrepresentation. But then, even defining what Rastafari is can be a challenge. It has never had a definitive leader, and the different houses or mansions, for example, the Nyabingi Ethiopian World Federation, Baba Shanti, 12 Tribes of Israel, point to the level of diversity within it. Although now, not even the divinity of Haile Selassie can be regarded as universal, as poet and broadcaster Muta Baruka asserts, quote, I refuse to keep validating my perception of the divinity of Haile Selassie through an Israelite God, unquote. Nevertheless, there are some key central elements that have remained since its inception, standing as a bulwark against Western materialism. For example, focus on the motherland as the source of African redemption through its call for repatriation, the prophetic attributes of Marcus Garvey, and the demand for reparations. Whatever is its certified membership, if it could even be calculated, the impact and sphere of influence of Rastafari goes well beyond this, arguably prescribing the parameters of consciousness for generations of activists. To some extent, a resurgence was witnessed through the organizing of the 2014 Reparations March. So tonight, Kings and Queens, we ask the question, Groundation Day at 50, where is Rastafari today? Is there a singular definition of Rastafari? Are the Gong's 6 principles relevant to today's Rastas? Has Rastafari suffered from misrepresentation? If so, how? 4. How do the many mansions help or harm Rastafari coherence? Is Rastafari a movement for young people? How are young people engaged? And is Rastafari still perceived to be a threat to the establishment? Our special guests are, as already introduced, our resident guest, Brother Leader Bandaka. We also have in the studio Sister Benji, a mother, daughter, wife, although not necessarily in that order, community activist, organizer, born in Jamaica, came to England in 1975, founder member of the Ras Angels, all-female vocal group, foundation member of I&I Families of Rastafari Support Worker Grassroots Bookstore, and has worked with the African community via radio from 1980, Traffic Jam Radio, event organizing, supporting families in crisis, Saturday school teacher, and the list goes on. We also have Ras Kwajo, husband, father, son, maybe in that order. Brother, born in West London, 1957, Pan-African nationalist, African spiritualist, Rastafari, joined organization of Rastafari Unity in the early 1980s, has been a member of an organization ever since, foundation member of I&I Families of Rastafari, taught in Saturday schools, youth and community worker, facilitated Black Fathers group during the 1990s. Sister Benji and Ras Kwajo have most recently been co-presenters of Ras Story on Omega Radio here week. Oh, don't worry. Both our guests are in the building. Rastafari greetings to you both.
Rastafari greetings, my brethren.
A pleasure to have both of the eyes in the studio. People that have known I since before I didn't know myself.
True.
You know what I mean? So we give thanks.
Don't worry.
For this, and yeah, it's a pleasure to have you both in the studio as well. You know what I mean? As opposed to via the phone line. We also are connecting with Ras Junior of the Nyabingi House via the Skype. Hopefully, shortly, Kings and Queens. So do stay tuned for that. I'm going to start by asking the guest in the studio. Oh, by the way, Kings and Queens, log the texting number from now. 07 498 857 8. Hold on there, sorry. You know when I don't know right funny. 1 second. 07 498 538 784. We're taking your text now. The phone lines are not open yet for live calls, but when they are, we will let you know. All right, Tendam Wari, Rastafari. So I want to ask you first both how you came to Rastafari.
Greetings and blessed love.
Yes,
first and foremost, we ask the ancestors permission to go forward with this reasoning, and we give thanks, for the matriarchs and patriarchs, of I&I story.
Yes,
So yes, Ela Press Jr. and all the houses of Rastafari and all the listeners, Galaxy family. Yes, it's enough people. So before we go in any further, well, personally, for I became involved with Rastafari when I was 15.
All right, young, very young.
Yeah. Well, I started learning about Rastafari in Jamaica because I was brought up and I grew in Jamaica. I came to England 2 days before my 16th Earth Strong.
Okay.
So, and the reason I was sent to England really was because I was getting involved within Rastafari. You see?
It never
worked. It went the other, you turn around upon them. So, yes, so.
I'm saying going down for Purdue.
Another country, get some civilization.
Yeah, and the reason for that, because I was going to prominent. I was a reasonable young lady at the time.
Yes.
Not getting in no trouble and all them things. They do, love my learning.
Yes.
I just love being natural. I can remember always like natural things. When my sister would go and get her hair, she want her hair pressed because, any event happening,
Yes.
I was like, nah, just love me,
Yes.
So when Rastafari started, becoming prominent and, the blackness, because Rastafari really for me at the start wasn't about any religious or any sort of order like that.
Yeah.
It was that cultural identity, that the spirituality different to religion, because the spirituality is like finding your inner self, knowing who you are. So when Rastafari brought that to me as a young person in Jamaica at the time, it was like, wow, because as you can see, my complexion is of the true African.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Well melanated.
yes, well melanated. So,
Yes.
in Jamaica, you find that there was this constant thing about, the complexion.
Yes.
The lighter you were, the more you were perceived to be heading for the heights.
Yes.
So when Rastafari come and say, oh, black,
black
we stand
supremacy,
black, you know what I mean? That we are deal with black people, big up, rise up and, know yourself and all them things. Then, what? A black king and, Marcus Garvey, the whole essence, it was like, wow.
Yes, yes.
You had blow off, them weird, you know what I mean? Because that was my introduction to Rastafari.
All right, give thanks, Mama. Rasquadjo.
Well, you want me to follow that now?
No, it's interesting because what's beautiful there, before you come in, Rasquadjo, is that we've got a perspective that is coming from one, receiving it in Jamaica, and two, obviously receiving it in Babylon. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, got through, Rasquadjo, got through.
Yes, I give thanks. As my sister say, I would have loved just to thank the ancestors that we arrived here this evening, safe and sound.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That we have the ability to utter the sound.
Yes,
giving thanks and praises for life eternal.
Yes,
Rastafari. I suppose my introduction to Rastafari is probably around about the same kind of age. But it was more generally through the reggae music, through the artists pronouncing the Rastafari ethos and the energy around that. So as we said, as youths growing up in England here, we never really know nothing about anything really, you know what I mean? As I was thinking about this day, I think as a youth growing up, I didn't even know any other black youths really when I was up until I was about 7 or 8. So it was just my apart from my younger brother and sister. So this, as we said, this energy within the music that was talking about Africa and that and that we had a heritage that was even talking about slavery, because nobody never talk about that. Even that wasn't even spoken about here. So so when Burning Spear asked, "Do you remember the days of slavery?" That send me on a mission to go and look for myself and seek out information, and that information now lead to the emperor.
Yes.
In finding the emperor now, start to look at it, and as my sister said, it wasn't really about a religious epiphany. It was about the social, the diplomacy that His Majesty used in dealing with Mussolini during the 1930s. Because when I heard about that now, it was like, that this country in Ethiopia that is ancient, that them nobody never tell us about this. It's ancient. It have an emperor. It have laws and regulations that and as I said, that just filled me up to know that my people built that, and it was built long before any European society existed upon planet Earth. So yes, so that now really was the journey, the start of that journey into Rastafari.
Yes, sir.
And as we said, it wasn't really a religious epiphany. It was kind of social, political, cultural. It was awakening.
Yes,
and as my sister said, Rastafari told us to look inside, not to look out
Yes.
and about,
Yes.
to look in at yourself and know yourself. So you know what I mean. That's
Yes,
a journey.
All right, give thanks,
Aye,
give
aye.
thanks. I do believe we have Ras Jr. on the line. Ras Jr.
Yes, sir. Give thanks. Blessed love.
Give thanks,
Rastafari.
Rastafari.
Ras Jr.
Yes, Ras. I don't know if you've been able to hear the conversation thus far, but we was asking, we have Ras Quadra and Sister Benji inside, and we're just asking them, how they came to Rastafari. So I'm going to put the same question to you, if you will.
Well, tough question, but when I was in my early teens,
Yes.
during, like, say, the late 60s, early 70s,
Yes.
my early to late teens, I kind of got interested in Rastafari, primarily because, for me, it seemed to offer an alternative that I didn't then have. So, but one of my key arguments, because I used to have some Rastafari brethren who were already dreadlocks and Rasta back in like 69, 70.
Yes.
So my key obstacle was, how could man be God?
Okay.
True.
One of my key obstacles, because I always used to say, but how you mean man is God? Rare. So for me, it was actually getting to the realization of the divine essence within, the said thing that I assume ones are talking about, because why we say look within is because the Almighty dwells on the inside.
Yes, sir.
You get divine essence, the essence of life is on the inside. It's outside as well, but for our experience as humans, it's primarily on the inside. That's why the ancients said, I must look within,
Yes, sir.
to find the essence of the self.
Know thyself.
And bring that essence out. So that was how I initially got interested.
Okay.
Because of philosophy and the theology and the social activity as well, because even reggae music and these influences were all around at that time. But I was really fascinated by, the whole concept in terms of the livity, the ital livity, not doing this, not doing that, having a level of moral decorum, so that one behaved in a more appropriate manner, one towards another, whether male to female or female to male, male to male, female to female.
Yes, sir.
The whole social interaction aspect of it. And even the concept of I and I is a really powerful concept. Because
Yes, I.
it's a once, but the initial I, the first I is the Almighty I. And the second I is the individual flesh.
Yes,
so
sir.
even when I and I say I and I, it's collective, it's not individual. So we've kind of moved away from the capitalist ethos, because in capitalism, the individual is first and foremost.
Yes, sir.
But in I and I, the individual has to balance themselves with their community. So this was what fascinated I about Rasta and got I involved from even late 60s, early 70s.
Give thanks, Ras Jr. And we're going to be going into a little bit of how the movement developed over here, in terms of, livity, community, and specific organizations as well. But Mama Benji, you kind of touched on something, and that I was going to ask. You kind of preempt the thing already still, in terms of how one's families reacted, upon, this revelation of Rastafari and these things.
Yes.
So,
absolutely. And that was a key element, because like I always say to ones and ones, are younger people who just embrace Rastafari. Sometimes I'm a person, I love reason, and I always love to correct. I don't like to criticize ones and ones, because that is everyone's decision is their own. But coming up through Rastafari from them early days, what we had to go through, was a serious decision. Because when you stand up and say, in a Jamaica them time, Rasta was embracing in terms of reaching out to the community, reaching out to ones, but the community was very dismissive. And like the history, like you've spoken today, the history, the coral gardens, the pinnacle, if you go into the whole saga of Jamaica coming through, you realize that even up till now, even with Rastafari in his prominent position, there are still ones and ones who fight.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and they'd rather not see, we standing in a prominent light. I had to go through parents' rejection. They're fighting them. I tell you, say, well, boy, my mom said, boy, you're Irish, because, like I said, I'm a manageable child. I grew up in that way. I not disrespect my mother. I come to my mother. I didn't know my mother when I came to England. You understand? Because my mother leaving when we was like 3 years old. And she come, and all we know of her mother is she send on barrel. The usual thing, so support you, look after you, make sure everything, So when I came here, and the Rasta power was in I, So when I went to high school here, it was like, me take over. Because my only thing was, Rastafari was like, what I'd learned is like, me want to share it. So when me go in school and me find say, well, a couple of people, and then them some sister them used to have them man was Rasta. Yeah. Now my difference was I didn't learn about Rasta through a man. As a Kingman side of things, because I was a young them times. So I used to just do research, like Rasco just say, it's all about, the music. When them say me I come England, me take my money, pocket money them send for me, and me go downtown and me buy a pure record Rasta. You know what I mean? Curly locks, burning spear, the whole saga, and me just pack up my thing and me say, I used to just play the music if it just reinforce it, Because when you come it was a loneliness still. It was a very deep loneliness. Because you come into a situation where the discipline is not there in the schools, the community is not there. You come home from school, you have to be a latchkey youth. You come home, I'm learning the latchkey thing when we're in England, son of things say, you come home, you have your key, your mother not come in till she leaves 7:30 or so in the morning, see her till all 9 o'clock at night. You have to come from school, make your own way, get, you know what I mean? You're over. So that kind of living, but still, I wouldn't let go Rastafari. So I used to be holding meetings in the park at school, sharing what I know, because I was still learning about Rastafari. Me never know everything. If you know, me don't know everything. So that kind of thing was prominent. So I used to, like the brother say, I used to be like the little mini leader at school, talk, and the teacher them, even the headmistress used to like, well, I don't know what's going on, but, revolutionize everything, man. Start wrap my head. Everybody want to wrap them head at school. The next thing they want letters. You have to have a letter from your mother saying that, you have a reason for wearing this. So I'm going to tell my mother, say, well, would I like to write a note for me? What? What? Note? I won't even go into that because it's too deep. But I had to write my own note, them way there, and take it to school and, be prominent. And then the whole so I knew that from them time there, Rastafari was my destiny. You know what I'm saying? And I never let go. All right. Until
very
the day I
interesting.
still.
Very interesting. I can't even double and triple that question because of time. Yeah. We have a text in that relates to one of the questions that we're going to ask. I'll read the text and then get to the question. It says, what are the teachings of Rastafari community? And is it possible to become a Rastafari without dreads? This text is saying, because I am interested in joining and I am bold. Name is Cole Shirley. So I mean, I don't know who want to take that one there first, but basically we have a question in the spec that says, is there a singular definition of Rastafari? And I know this kind of gets a bit contentious certain times. Certainly. So ones and ones can answer with them. Let me put it to Ras Jr. first, and then I'll come to Ras Quadrant. Mama Benji, if you want to step in, then step in, yeah? Ras Jr. Yes, the text is asking whether there is what are the teachings of Rastafari? And I'm going to put it to you as well. Is there a singular definition of Rastafari?
Well, I think the most singular definition that most ones use in terms of Rastafari is seeing Gadamawi, Kadamawi, Haile Selassie I.
Yes, I.
So that's the first singular definition. And then the livity is based on the foundation of peace and what them say love, but I would have said peace and all our love. You get me?
Yes, I. Explain the difference between love and all our love. Explain the difference between love and all our love.
Well, all our love is holistic.
Yes, sir.
It is both the sacred and the profane, as they would say, are the natural and the spiritual. It's the balance. Yeah, between the different effects of love that one's feel and experience.
Yes, sir.
You get me? But that whole of love now puts the love on that divine concept, you know, the divine love that created life. Yeah, so that is where I say is the essence of the beginning. And then within the livity now, you have the caring and sharing as one of the central activities within the Rastafari livity. You know. And then obviously the teachings of His Majesty is our number one guideline apart from the scriptures.
Yes, sir.
You get me? So these are, but as the sis, because I could concur with some of Sister Benji's experiences, because when I tell my parents says Rastafari, them say, boy, you're mad. You know, well, so I tell them, say, I tell them, say, you go dead for hungry. You go sick and dead. You know, I got all these comments. And here's the funny thing. My father, my fleshy father, when he was a youth in Jamaica, he was a brother man. And in those times, brother man was like the forerunner to the modern day Rastafari. So already the concept was in his head.
Okay.
And then here comes his child comes along and takes the concept a stage further.
Higher level.
But he never complained about the belief system, you know. He complained about the locks, because his thing was that you can't get work with locks. But I am glad to say that I have lived long enough to disprove that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Give thanks, King. Ras Quadra, same question to the eye, but with particular attention to the divinity of His Majesty and that revelation or the justification. How does one explain the divinity of His Majesty to ones?
Well,
no, Ras Junior, that's for Ras Quadra. Sorry, we still come back to you.
Ras Junior on a roll, man.
I might have to, yes, 10 more.
Rastafari.
I might have to let Ras Junior and deal with that one for real. But in terms of, as Ras Junior did say, you know, when we first start to look inside of yourself and start to look into Rastafari. Yes. And it is a big question, you know. How can anyone tell you, say, well, the man is God?
Yes.
But then, as we said, if we start to look at African anciency,
yes,
right, and we look at Kemet, and we look at Ghana, Nigeria, Oshun, all of the Mohari. Now, all of those are manifestations of the Almighty. Where they manifest in human form.
Yes.
Right? So as I start to realize that we as people are looking for a manifestation, for a way of seeing the Almighty. I'm a human being, so I'm a man. So I can only see that in the form of another man. Yeah. So we look at divinity. The divinity of his Imperial Majesty. I don't try to explain that to nobody. I tell you the truth. No, right? I don't try to convince or explain that to anybody because I know that for myself. I know that I came to that via a journey.
Yes.
Right? A journey that took that made I man look at myself and see that I am not the greatest thing on planet Earth. There is something bigger and greater than I.
Yes.
Right? As Junior said, I and I first that Almighty I, and then I am a part of that. Marcus Garvey called that universal intelligence.
Yes.
Yeah, that we are one with the Creator.
Yes.
So
we are a unitary part.
We are a unitary part
of the universal intelligence. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So in coming to that, so I would say that I came to that via reading Marcus Garvey, via different teachings, and realizing that it's no big thing for me to say that man is God.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And that, as we said, that God is in I.
Yes, sir.
And I manifest a Godhead.
Yes, sir.
And brethren, I was talking about how Rastafari, when I start to eat ital, and the same thing your family tell you, say, you know what I mean? Yeah. You must be mad. And the amount, and I would like to say today that the amount of ones who came to Rastafari in England in them early days, I know say it happened in Jamaica as well, my experience is here, that their parents call Mados.
Yeah.
Call, you know what I mean? And lock them on. I have enough brethren and sisters who, as they came into Rastafari very early on, they were locked away. Many of us lost friends and, you know, people who we moved with quite closely, who we had a good relationship until that time, until you start to say Rastafari. They, you know what I mean? Them distance themselves from you. As somebody whose family didn't come from Jamaica, my family came from Dominica, where dreadlaw.
Yeah, we're going to come to that. We're going to come to that. Yeah,
right?
we're going to come to that.
But you know, there was a feeling amongst non-Rasta Jamaicans that those of us who are not Jamaican are trying to be Jamaican, right? And we try, and that was an explanation that we always is not like that. You become African, right? You know, exactly. and if you listen to the teachings of the Rastafari, it's about Africa, right, and our journey. I hope that
yes, I, Mama. In relation to this now, because we're on the thing about this definition of Rastafari, and whether it's one definition or many definitions.
Well, you know how personally, because, you know, I speak from my experience, from my livity. Yeah? And I want to address the thing what the sister is asking.
Okay,
no, go ahead. She's actually asking, you know, how we see Rastafari. How can she embrace this? Yes. And my answer would be to go into yourself, go and do your research, right? Because that's my personal journey. Yeah, you have to be firm within what you are dealing with. You have to know what you're dealing with. Yeah, so you have to be so strong within yourself. Yeah, and if it's something that you feel within yourself that it is for you, then no one can take that away. You know what I'm saying? Because through the knowledge, and the self-preservation, accepting His Majesty as the Almighty, that was my choice, and I found that through the historical connection, as you've mentioned before, and that is what it's about. So when like Rasco just said, we're past the stage of trying to justify, you know what I'm saying? Just like how a person will come and want to debate with you and this and that. That's time wasting, brethren. Whatever is good and makes you happy and feel good within your soul. When we say soul means the inner being. Because the duality is each of us. Have that within us. We have the good and we have the evil. We call it the ego. And the ego is that duality. And if you can, when you recognize that, then you'll know. So, like I said, the journey is long and knowledge never stops. You know what I mean? As you know, as Brother Mandaka would tell you, you're still a learn. We're still a learn. So, sistering, if you are serious, don't really take what anyone says. Going into it, you know what I mean? Do your meditation. When you're doubting yourself, whatever, go into yourself, because what the ancestors is always there with the answer. Ashe.
All right. Ras Jr.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We'll come back to that area. In going further into this particular question, we have another question that says, do the many mansions of Rastafari help or harm coherence within Rastafari? So, as a man from the Nyabingi house, you know what I'm saying? In reflect on the fact that there's many mansions in Rastafari, what implications does that have on the Rastafari movement and how it's able to develop or not develop, as the case may be?
Well, the fact that you have so many ones saying Rastafari and seeing it in so many different ways shows you the actual diversity within the livity.
Okay.
So for you know, the king is the unitary force in Rastafari. So if I follow the examples that His Majesty set in terms of diplomacy, in terms of social living, in terms of politics, in terms of relationships, then obviously, you know, we will eventually get to the stage where we can see eye to eye, because it's really an educative process, you know. The fact that you've got many mansions is neither here nor there in certain ways, you know, because essence of the livity is that, because every mansion you can think of, it's living human beings, is it not? Who occupies them and who functions them. So within the essence of livity, there is already an unity.
Yes, sir.
Within the essence of His Majesty, there is already an unity. What needs to happen is that I and I, from whether we're individuals, our mansions, or whatever, I and I need to educate I and ourselves into the protocols of unity, because unity is something that must be built.
Right.
It's not a given. It's not manna from heaven. It's a thing that I and I as people have to work on. We have to feed it and water it, just like we feed and water plants to let it grow. So the more that I and I can use our intellectual capacity to overcome barriers, is the more I and I will be able to gel together and have that commonality of seeing things a certain way, and the commonality of activity where we pool our resources, we pool our forces, we pool our energies for tasks that are beneficial to the nation as a whole.
Yeah.
So I don't really, because ones are free to see the livity how they want to see it. But as I said, I agree with Sister Benji, because this is a journey. It's a personal journey that requires research and knowledge and education, and it never stops. Because the minute you think you know it all, you know almost nothing.
All right. Now, so Ross Jr. has certainly been reading the chapters from the speeches of His Majesty on diplomacy with that answer. You know what I mean? We're going to get controversial right now. No, the reason why I say that here is because, all right, growing up in and amongst Rastafari right here, like, we know that things can go on in the sense of the fact that, you know what I mean, certain times disagreement not nice in terms of different houses. Like we got a bingy and certain man can't get in and them something there. And you know what I mean? These things does go on, you know what I'm saying? So in the sense of, all right, let me ask this. So we know Ras Junior is Naya Bingi, and the three main houses that main people will know of is the Naya Bingi, the Baba Shanti, and the 12 tribe. Do our two guests in the studio adhere to any house? Because some Ras is non-aligned, you know, they don't even know house, it's a Rastafari. You know what I'm saying? So,
exactly.
Yeah?
Yes.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I'm saying three main people.
Really and truly, if we take like I'm saying, stick a pin, but we're not sticking a pin, but we are talking something. Because if you take the journey of Rastafari, the story of Rastafari, like we say, Ras story in itself, yeah. All the houses then really, from the days of Pinnacle coming right through, really and truly, when His Majesty said to establish the EWF, the Ethiopian World Federation, that in itself, many of the houses came out of that. You're over. So really, because due to time limit and thing, we can't really go in deep. But when we're talking about the houses, we have to know that it's like branches of the tree. You're over. So one have to acknowledge and realize that they're part of the tree. And like they said, the basic, the roots, right, of all these branches is Rastafari. Tafari, Rastafari, Haile Selassie I. That is the thing, that is the power. So we have to be certain where we're coming from. We have to know that we deal with Marcus Garvey, with all reverence, we have honor for the honorable, Marcus Garvey. You're over. So Marcus Garvey, the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, my sister, if you're still listening, that is one book you should get. The other one is, the autobiography of His Majesty.
Part 1 and 2.
Right? Those are those, because when you go into the history of His Majesty, when you go into the history of Garvey, right, that alone in itself is enough to just give you a beautiful foundation. You know what I'm saying? But like the brother is saying as well, the journey is personal. And we are, as we call them, say we're human. Personal journey. So people are going to come and buck up on different things. A woman is going to come through, and because of her king man, she have disagreement. Him introduce her to Rastafari. So she's going to say, boy, me can't bother with this thing. Me go side, me go on the way there. A man going to come and say, boy, the woman diss me. Him gone in ways. But that doesn't take away from Rasta. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't take away from what you know, the knowledge and that you have gained. It's like people coming through. Rasta gone turn Christian again, Christian turn Rasta, Muslim communite, you know. So the whole thing is ongoing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I just give thanks and praise that I am happy in myself within the knowledge that I've gained so far. Yeah? And I can only pray that the ancestors guide I, so that whatever I do is not about, you know, segregating myself from my people. It's not about putting myself on a pedestal and saying that my knowledge is such that I know better than that person because you're a Christian or a Muslim or whatever. But it's sharing, you know. Right now, it's like if you get within your community, you work together, regardless of whether you're Rasta. So if me now work with the houses of Rastafari, me I work with the houses of African. You know, you over. Because that is my thing.
All right.
You over.
Yes, sir.
And that is how we have to take it and deal with it.
All right. Well, these answers, kings and queens, especially for the Rastas who know, may signify evolution and development.
we'll be moving from that time till this time.
Yes, sir.
I learn nothing.
Yes. And you're right. There, you know what I mean? There are times, but as in any family,
Yes, sir.
any family that you know, there are points in time where families disagree. There are family members who move one way or move another way. But as my brethren said, the foundation is His Majesty.
Yes, sir.
That I and I are declaring the divinity of Emperor Haile Selassie I. So we may have differences in perspective.
True.
However, I am looking forward to that centralization. Yes, definitely. You know, because we could talk about the things that have gone on between individual races.
Yes.
But this is
Bigger than that.
It's way bigger than that. And as long as all of us remember that it's way bigger than that,
Yes, sir.
and get over some of those problems.
Well, that's happening, you know, because
it is happening.
Last year with the Abingi, you know, and so it was Naya Bingi also was holding the Bingi, and two Baba must have come. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, head wrap and all these
And they
things.
know, you know, that's the thing about it. They know the protocol.
But what it is that they were outside and they asked if they could come in.
Right.
So one of the elders them said, listen, you know, two Baba outside, and then one them asked to come in with them head wraps. So what you say? Free them in, and everybody said, free them in, man. What you doing? Free them in, man. They come in, I was like, so I was like, yeah, go on. Without that energy there, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Because what I appreciated about it though is that protocol was respected at each point.
Yes.
So they asked, and then the elder didn't say, yeah, come. He asked, and then everybody said, welcome.
And this is what Ross Jr. was saying.
Yes.
Is about learning to follow protocol, to follow an order, to follow the order. So if you go to Nyabingi, when I go to Nyabingi, I know I'm going to remove my crown because I don't belong to Nyabingi to Bobo.
Yes.
But I might wear a crown. But when I go in the Bingi, I will remove my crown.
Yes.
Due respect to the Bingi house.
Yes.
Right.
That's it. Yes, sir.
The other thing is we're talking about that. I'd like, you know, from early days, Ross Jr. you probably would remember, you know, in Shashamane there was a family and one of the daughters was very, very sick. Colin Reid. This is going back a long way.
Yes.
Now, the houses, the various Rastafari peoples, through the EWF made the request, came together and was able to bring Colin from Shashamane to England.
This story is actually documented in Rasquende has a book on Rastafari livity where he documents how much money that was raised among Rastafari.
And this was Rass's non-aligned Bobo House, 12 Tribe, Nyabingi, EWF, Rasta International. So at various points, people have put various minor differences aside.
Yes.
And
all right, give thanks. We're going to take these messages to Kings of Queens and be back after the break. Till that worry.
Alkebu-Lan presents Nomo, the informative and uplifting monthly session for the African family. This month, Friday the 29th of April 2016, Lioness on the Rise, Part 2, Sister Soldiers, Now and the Future. featuring Nahanda Sankofa of Sankofa Rising.
Whatever we have lost can be reclaimed, revived and perpetuated.
And Toya RBG of Reparations March Committee.
I want to be a teacher in this and make the children learn about the reparations.
Come and have your say. Alkebu-Lan Nomo. Lioness on the Rise, Part 2, Sister Soldiers, Now and the Future. Friday the 29th of April 2016 at Mama Africa Culture Shop, 282 High Road Leighton, London, E10 5PW. Doors open 7 p.m. and admission is a mere £3. Under 21s are free. Coming straight from work, don't worry, hot food will be on sale. Books, DVDs and educational materials also on sale. For more information, contact 020-8539-2154 or 0790-8814-152 or alkebulan.org. That's ALKEBULAN.org. Alkebu-Lan Nomo, supported by Galaxy Radio 102.5 FM, www.galaxyafiwi.com, the only de-brainwashing station.
Sovereignty, the God in me, walking university, living cosmology without apology.
Tendai Moari, 102.5 FM, www.galaxyafiwi.com. And if you didn't get all those details down, you just need to go on Galaxy website, galaxyafiwi.com, and go onto the events page, and the calendar will come up with all the events that are advertised on Galaxy Radio. So don't be worried, but you can also go on to alkebulan.org for more information of events happening in the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist movement, alkebulan.org. The discussion this evening, where is Rastafari today? Sister Benji, Ras Kwajo and Ras Junior in the hot seat. The lines are now open.
Yeah, 07438 154 alternatively 07548 850-868-4. I'm going to read that number one more time, Kings and Queens. That's a new number. So dash way, all old number. Yeah. And 07548-508-684. We're going to chat to Brother Leader quickly. And then we're gonna bring up to date Kings and Queens, yeah. So all guests in the studio, tune your mind to where is the Rastafari movement now, not just the ideology and the faith and the belief system, but the movement. Where is it at today, yeah? But Brother Leader, where I want to come to Brother Leader, right, as a spiritual leader of the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist movement, and you know what I mean. Over the years, we've always had a relationship with Rastafari, not necessarily just in the form of being identified with Rastafari brethren and sisters, but it being integral to the philosophy and faith of the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist movement, in terms of it being a cultural synthesis of all authentic spiritual cultural traditions. So what's the Rastafari influence on how the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist movement develops?
Well, that's an easy question to answer. You know, the most obvious answer to that question is that the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist movement was founded by along with myself, you know, the founding mothers and fathers of the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist movement included a Rastafari brethren by the name of Brother Kamawaize Mebrato Noe. He was one of the leading forces that founded the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist movement. He and I were very close brethren who were trotting Liberation Road in the early 1980s, searching for a meaning to the oppression, the suffering that our people were experiencing, searching to rediscover ourselves, our true identity. But he was already well established in Rastafari. He was quite young when he came to Rastafari. He was still in school. I had a lot of battles with his parents as well. You know, two nice people have met his parents also. He was about 13 or 14 when he came to Rastafari. So he was ahead of me. The name Alkebu-Lan was a name that he offered for us to consider for the movement, because we were looking for a name that represented our land and our people pre-conquest, pre-invasion, and pre-enslavement. And he was the one who, based on his study of the teachings, works of Baba Yusuf Ben Yochanan, introduced the name Alkebu-Lan. I'd never heard the name before. He introduced the name Alkebu-Lan. We all did the research, and then we decided, well, this is the appropriate name for the movement. It was a Rastafari brethren that made that recommendation. So as far as the birth of the movement is concerned, that is the short answer to the question. But of course, my own journey into African consciousness also had a great deal of influence from the Rastafari movement. Growing up in Jamaica in the 1970s, Rastafari, was a powerful force.
Yes,
the Black Power movement was also evident in Jamaica at the time. But there was a resurgence of Rastafari, and it was a powerful resurgence, and it was impossible not to be touched by the spirit and the majesty of that, even if you didn't realize it. And I do recall that, just coming to and from when I was at high school, Camperdown High School in Jamaica, and just coming to and from school, traveling through downtown Parade. There was, Rastaman always, one of the features of how Rastafari presented itself in Jamaica and manifested in Jamaica is that Rastafari always focused on youth. Youth and youth, them used to say. And them used to always take the opportunity to reason with youth and youth. So you come home from school, you walk through downtown Parade, and a Rastaman would just shout to you, say, youth and youth, and they start to reason with you. And there was this Rastaman in particular who used to sell coconut and sugar cane downtown with him cart. And we passed him every day. And him just take an interest in us, and every now and again he used to stop way and reason with way and so on and so forth. And you don't realize at the time how much the reasoning is sinking in, how much seeds are being planted and nourished inside of you, until much later for me. You know what I'm saying? But but I say that to say that Rastafari was just an integral part of my journey which started really unbeknownst to me when I was a child.
Yes,
just reasoning with my grandmother. I was very close to my grandmother and just asking questions about her father and her father's father. And one day she told me that her great-grandfather, which is my great-great-great-grandfather, was an enslaved African, and that her grandfather was born in slavery, and that her great-grandfather had the name Bowen, and he was owned by a slave driver named Bowen, and was sold from one slave driver named Bowen to a slave driver named Walker. Now, my grandmother had the name Walker, the slave labor Walker. I was 7 years of age, and that had such an impact, just never made sense to me. How you mean sold? And I asked them about 1 million questions, trying to understand, this 7-year-old child, trying to understand how you sell a human being or one human being can sell a human being to another human being. And that was a part of my, that is where the journey, I think, for me really started. But I'm just saying that to emphasize that Rastafari became a part of that journey.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we have Brother Makonnen Sankofa. Greetings and welcome, my brother.
Brother Makonnen?
And especially to Brother.
Sorry, Brother Makonnen, come again, King, because we didn't have you live a minute ago. So let's start again, if you please. Brother Makonnen?
Go on through.
Yes, King, if you could start again, please, because we wasn't getting you through live a minute ago.
Okay, greetings. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, greetings to Sister Kai, to Brother Muba Daka, and to Shakara.
Yes, sir. Tendai Mwari.
Yes, on the show.
Yes,
greetings, brother.
Blessed love.
Okay, I just wanted to just raise this one point quickly, and it's to Russ Jr. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Now I know he mentioned that Rastafari is about the teachings of His Majesty. It is important, obviously, what His Majesty said, but as Brother Chakra pointed out in his lecture that I was at on Friday, and is often said by Mucha Baruka in a lot of his speeches and talks, Rasta never started out because of what His Majesty said, because at the time, 1930, no one knew what Haile Selassie I believed or had to say. Some people didn't know what he looked like. some people couldn't even read. Haile Selassie I, he never locked, he ate meat, His Majesty never smoked ganja. So for those Rasta who will say things, for example, and call it a livity by doing these things, isn't there a contradiction from the teachings of Haile Selassie I, because he never did those things?
Interesting question.
Oh, not really, no, my brother. Not really, because you see, these things were developed within the Jamaican historical, social context. And even in terms of the king, you see, what people tend to forget is that even though there was a lot of illiteracy, there was also a lot of literacy.
Yes, sir.
And most of the ones who came to this liberty were literate, and they were also travelers. You get me? So I know there's things around like the urban thing that people have an issue with, but that is a social context within I live. And even now, we can see everyone's legalizing the herb in America everywhere, because they've realized, because I did say the herb was for the healing of the nation. And it's not just smoking, because when you say herb, people think automatically smoke. But even our ancestors might not have smoked, but they drank the tea. And a lot of us grew up with grandparents or great-grandparents used to sip a herb tea in the evening before them got in bed. You see me? So that is part of our social activity within the Jamaican context. Now, I'm not saying that the Jamaican context is a worldwide context in the sense of we expect everyone to follow the Jamaican context, because we don't. And even in terms of the essence of the majesty, people tend to forget that there is also a Judeo-Christian scriptural basis for the king, especially in terms of Isaiah chapter 9, and Acts, where they predicted that according to the lines, according to the flesh, God shall rise up Christ to sit upon David's throne. Now, the prophecy in Isaiah 9 is about the man who's going to sit upon the throne, who shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Ever-Living Father, the Almighty God. So even prophetically, I ancients were aware of these things, and historically they were also aware, because as I pointed out, enough of I elders were literate. They weren't illiterate. And if you look at the key people within the livity who had the most powerful influence, people like Leonard Percival Howell, who called the first.
Right.
He was literate and he traveled. He went Ethiopia, he went America, he went all over the place observing, just as how Garvey traveled and observed the lives of African people. So in the end, it's one's own decision as to which aspects of liberty one will adhere to, which is why even you have diversity within liberty, because it's not everything that someone does on next. Because I know enough Rasta who don't smoke.
Yes, sir.
And I've never smoked. You get what I'm saying? So within the liberty, we allow for you to make your choices as to which parts of the liberty suits you best, because that is the human way, actually. You get me? So in terms of the king now, people knew of the king, but people saw the king in that prophetic utterance of Isaiah. That's how they saw the king. And when they read their Bibles and they saw in Revelation that weep not, for behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah hath prevailed to open the seals, that pointed to the king, because there was only one throne at the time which had any relationship to the throne of Judah, and it's the throne of Ethiopia. So even in terms of a Judeo-Christian background, you can see that. But the king said something that was even more important. The king said the African mystic traditions form the basis of all the world's great religions.
Yes, all right, Tendai Mori.
Brother Makonnen.
Within Africa.
Russ Jr., Tendai Mori, give thanks for that response. We just wanted to see if Brother Makonnen wants to just land and we could take some more calls.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brother Makonnen.
Yeah, okay. Just one other point I wanted to press on to. Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see Rastafari as a black power movement, it's about black people uniting and trying to redeem Africa, following the Pan-African philosophies of Marcus Garvey. I mean, on a DVD printer manual for Bob Ashanti said something along the lines, Rastafari, first and foremost, is about black people uniting, being self-sufficient and independent. And that's certainly the way I see it. So going back with what the sister asked on the text earlier, and I think she did ask, does she have the locks to be a Rasta? And that's definitely a no. Like you guys said on the show earlier, Rastafari is a spiritual thing. I mean, I used to locks myself, but then I cut them off because I realized, like the song Morgan Heritage said, you don't have to dread to be Rasta.
Very controversial.
Brethren, Ras McConnon.
And a lot of things like ITAL food and smoking of ganja and herbs and all of these kind of things, it turns it a bit into a sense of a doctrine, and that can deter a lot of people from coming and being part of Rastafarian, because they might not necessarily think that, oh, if I'm a Rasta then I can't do this or I can't do that.
All right, Brother Conan, Sister Benji, want to make a quick response because we have Brother Ray waiting. Go ahead, Sister Benji.
Right, brethren. You see the journey of the locks. Yeah, if you look into the history of Rastafari, yeah, Rasta never started with the locks. Remember they started as beard man. Yeah. So that was the initial concept. If you really want to go into it, you have to know what you're talking about. So the locks was a defined feature, and they adopted the locks, yeah, from the Nyabingi concept, from the African heritage that we found out about. That's where the locks came in from, yeah. So when Morgan Heritage says you don't have to be dread to be Rasta, to me that is we call it applause that they're playing because they're doing music and you want to involve other people, because really and truly your locks, when I locks, that was my defiant feature. That was, because what, when people look and I them can know, say I'm an African and I'm proud of my African heritage, and I'm saying Rastafari and I believe in my king. Yes, so that was what it was all about.
Let me just say one, as my sister said, in terms again of the locks. Right, when the British establishment, when the Rastafari saw Dedam Kamati, right, come out of the hills after the African, the Kikuyu and of Kenya, right?
Yes,
defeated, right, made England have to come to the negotiating table so that Kenya could gain their independence. They then come out with his nuts, and that was part of that journey, right? As my sister said, identifying with the African liberation movement, and all of I and I as youth coming up identify. So when you say about the social journey, the cultural and political movement, Brother McConan, right? The locks is part of that. As we say, it's I and I antenna, right? That is our side.
Tendai More. Brothers and sisters, this discussion this evening, where is Rastafari today? You can join the discussion by calling 07438154351 or 07548508684. The new number 07548508684. We have Brother Ray. Tendai, Brother Ray, how would you like to join the discussion this evening?
Yes, I want to say greetings and good evening to all the members in the studio.
Greetings, brother.
Greetings, brother.
Greetings, everyone. Jumbo, I just want to say I respect all true Rastas, on this planet Earth, okay? However, I just want to ask 3 quick questions, okay? Yeah? Barbara Shakara said, as Rasta got a definition, yeah? Now, I'm not a Rasta, okay? But I want to say, I've got family members, my parents are from Jamaica, and all of this stuff, okay? I know about Rasta, we're born and grew up with Rastas, yeah? But what I want to say, to me, Rasta doesn't have a clear definition. That's my answer, okay? Yeah? And to me, it sounds, based on what certain people are saying in the studio, who are Rastas, yeah, that there are differences, there isn't really a clear distinction what underlines or underpins what true definition of Rastafari is, okay? And I don't know how that's going to be resolved, okay? That's number one.
My brother, are you a Rasta?
No,
okay.
I'm not a Rasta.
Right, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah? But I know people that say that you're not a Rasta will say, well, how can you say that? Because you're not a Rasta. Yeah? But it's like Rastas critiquing Rastas. They're the only ones that can critique each other. But to me, you know, for us to forward and you know, get a better understanding of ourselves, okay, we have to have, you know, good constructive criticism. Otherwise, you can't.
All right, go ahead with your second point. Bro. Oh. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Bible, let's look at the Bible, okay? To me, based on Leonard Percival Howell's foundations and all of that stuff, okay, from the 30s, okay, I think the Bible's kind of stumped the Rasta movement's growth and development, if we're looking at the historical aspect of it. And thirdly, what have all these three great men got in common? His Imperial Majesty Selassie I, Marcus Garvey, and Leonard Percival Howell. Yeah, and that's all I want to say. Thanks very much. And yeah,
is that a question? Is that last one a question, King?
I think the conversation needs to open up and broaden a bit more. But thanks anyway for the conversation. Yeah.
Give thanks, King. You know the ones where man feel like I want to be a guest right now, than more than a host. What's it called? Well, I'll say it a certain time.
We'd like to respond to that. We have, but before you respond to that, just note that. But we have Russ Aiton. Russ Aiton, how would you like to join this discussion? Where is Rastafari today? That's the question.
Hail, sister.
Hail.
Greetings, seeing the ones out there.
Aye.
Girls to Rastafari, when you wear your dreadlocks, it's your identity. It's showing you that you're strong and you can fight down Babylon and ban fire. See? So the brethren just now that talking, he need to educate himself and know what life is about. Rastafari is a livity, and there's rules and regulations in life. Rastafari don't live by rules, no regulations. It's just a livity, live upright and just. So that's why I got the reason and show the brethren.
All right.
Yes, sir. Give thanks.
All right. So we've had a few contributions there. That was what's his name? Who was it called up before this one now?
Ray.
Brother Ray, right? Because I was gonna ask. He was basically saying, and he's correct in the sense that we have to be open to critique and all these things from our people. So he's basically saying that he doesn't see that Rastafari has a unified definition. It sounds like what he's saying is that this is a hindrance to the movement, and he's also saying that the focus on the Bible, and I want to come back to this thing because I spoke about this on for ones who don't know, I guess you don't know. Ras Makonnen was mentioning. He was at my presentation on Friday where I was dealing with the mystic revelation of Rastafari and going through the evolution from a philosophical point of view, how the ideas that went into Rastafari. Very well received presentation and event and these things. But in terms of a lot of the ideas and where they have come from, and us being able to consciously engage in the evolution rather than just have things in the mixer, so to speak. And I think that's where he was coming from, where that was concerned. But where do you come in terms of the lack of definition being a hindrance, and the Bible in particular, the emphasis on the Bible and how that has implicated the movement positively or negatively? Yeah. In fact, let's start with Ras Jr. Sorry, let me direct the question first of all, because he did mention Ras Jr. So let's start with Ras Jr. on that.
Yes, I give thanks. Well, in terms of the Bible now, people tend to forget that it's not one person write that book, you know. You've got a collection of writings spanning maybe 4,000 or 5,000 years, yeah, from different people at different times in different places with different experiences.
Yes, sir.
So a lot of the experiences written about in the Bible are about human behavior, what human beings do in certain situations. Now, because you have a literary tradition within the Bible, that's why it's useful, because it has a historical use, it has a literary use, it has a philosophical use, and it has a theoretical use. But I and ancients say you must read your Bible, but read it with understanding. Yeah, because the Bible is not just a straightforward book in that sense, because not enough of it is allegorical. Yeah, in terms of demonstrating a principle. Because take Jesus, for instance. Jesus taught by parables, which was essentially stories. Yeah, but stories that contain deep.
But can I just, sorry, Ras Jr., just to cut you. Brother Ray was saying that he feels it's a hindrance. It's held back Rastafari. What would you say to that?
No way. What holds back Rastafari is modern day capitalism and its objectives and ideology that is permeating everyone's minds. That is what is holding us back, because we're all thinking on that individual capitalist level now, and it's inundating everywhere. Yeah, so that is more of a danger, because really, if a one read them Bible, what does the Bible exhort? It exhorts people to do good things. What's wrong with doing good things? Now, if a book is going to encourage me to do good things, surely that's a good book. You know, so I don't look at it in terms of saying I'm bound by the Bible, because a lot of the times we're not bound by it, because we can see it in the context of, because even some of the thoughts and ideas that went in belong to their time. So we're coming maybe 2,000-3,000 years later, and we can reflect on what was written, and we can analyze and criticize. And even in terms of Rastafari, my brother who talked earlier tend to forget that we had to face the world's criticism to stand up as Rastafari.
All right, Russ Jr., I'm going to just hold you there. Sorry, but we have another call, and we're going to come back to address the issue of whether Rastafari, is a united force and coherent that people can understand, or is it all over the place? But then you can say the same for Christianity. How many different houses do you have in Christianity?
You can say the same for any group. Any group.
All right, let's take Brother William Tendamwari, the discussion this evening. Where is Rastafari today? Brothers and sisters, you can join the discussion by calling 07438154351 or 07548508684. Go ahead, Brother William.
Greetings to everybody in the studio.
Greetings, brother.
I just want to say one thing, that's going to be quick. Is the Rastaman's movement and the word of the Rastaman, is it really relevant for the 21st century with politics and the way we live today? That's my question, brothers and sisters.
Give thanks, William.
Do you have a perspective on it, William?
Yeah, well, personally, I think the Rastaman movement and all what concerns Rasta, to be in the 21st century, I think it's a dying group of people for the way we live today with politics, what's happening in the world.
Why do you say that, bro?
Well, I just honestly don't see it as a kind of a group of set of people other people who are not Rastas, who listen to the message of what the Rasta man preaches.
But why does that make it? What I'm getting at, King, if you're going to say that it's not working, it's not applicable to today, why? What's the reasoning for that? If that makes sense. And I'm not sure that. No, but I'm not sure that whether Rasta can get through to next man is an answer.
A dying group of people who kind of live in the past compared to what we're dealing with now.
All right, then let's take.
Brother, but it's not enough to say that. You've got to have a basis from which you think that it's a dying move. What is it about Rastafari that you think is so oblivious to the present time? There must be something that you can point to concrete, my brother.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're making an empty statement. You're entitled to your opinion, but if you want to be taken seriously in a discussion, you need some substance to your argument.
You gone, Bridget?
Tendai Mwari, you there, my brother? All right, brother, make his point and gone.
You didn't say it was a quick one, but yeah.
All right.
So but he asked the question: What makes it relevant? What makes Rastafari relevant? Again, I feel like I want to be a guest rather than a host,
Yeah.
But
the question is it, do I need to prove that I'm relevant to anybody? Really? I mean, no. In truth, listen. I live here and now.
Yes.
I have raised children. I have a grandchild. Now these people grow up in Rastafari household. They live within this world. Through the teachings that I teach them, they have managed to negotiate their way through this society without becoming, as Russ Jr. said, capitalistic in their view, in their worldview. We have a worldview that is not about capitalism. That doesn't mean that we're not about earning money and being business minded and those things. It's about our the I philosophy says that the main thing is that we are working for the betterment of the whole, right? On the wall in front of me is I am because we are, since we are, therefore I am, right? So that is our...
Rastafari say I and I.
I and I.
Sum up the whole
right?
of that.
It's sum it up in one, right? So we, as we said very, very early on, we're done asking people if we can be. No, everybody, listen. I go online and I look around, and there are, Rastafari.
See,
you know what I mean.
It's like a vibe, and you see what we're saying is when you touch upon the youth. You see, right now, our parents, right, were afraid to speak to us. Yeah. They didn't tell us about the history. They didn't tell us about nothing. I grew in Jamaica. Not once did I hear about, Coral Gardens. Not once did I hear about Leonard Howell. Not until I am here in England doing research, going through life, finding out facts. Yeah? And so what them things happen in Jamaica, when we do programs, people phone in and say, I lie, we tell them things that never happened in Jamaica. Yeah. We said, go and check it. Go and okay. Format the next week. Yeah. Well, we're sorry, boy. I never know. Yeah. And all I'm trying to say is, Rastafari is as relevant now as it was, all them times ago. Yeah. And that is simply because you see the youths them now. We're talking about the youths them. Yeah. And as Kojo say, he's a grandfather now. Yeah. He's got grandchildren. Yeah. There's lots. Our youths on the street have problems. Yeah. In our community right now. Yeah? I don't see the churches getting up to do nothing about it. Yeah? Yeah. Same way I can say there's brethren in our community that need to step up. Yeah? So all the brethren who even calling, they have to look within themselves. It's not about the actual aspect of whether we're relevant. What you're doing to be relevant to your community, to yourself.
Right.
Yeah?
Most definitely.
I mean, Africa has major things going on, right? Yes. We have our youths them all over the great things,
yes.
We have the youths them coming through reggae music. Them not a joke like, before we say we're going to do something and we don't do it.
Yes.
They've learned from us.
Yes.
They've seen what we have made the mistakes or whatever, and they're taking that tradition.
Well, it's true to say that one of the most powerful movements on the ground in Jamaica and in Mama Africa right now is born out of Rastafari. You know what I'm saying? That's what the youth them are doing is inspired by Rastafari. We have a call
time is our greatest enemy in this discussion. Because my tongue
part two.
scratch me. My tongue scratch me hard. My tongue scratch me at the moment. At least another hour.
We have Russ Iton. It's 1 minute wonders now. You have to quick. 10 more.
10 more.
All right. Well, I am.
Sorry.
We're not a bleep from the guy. The budget don't extend to bleep for the rest of it. So you have to come again.
You're right. You mean royal tendencies, bro? Where are you? Royal tendencies. Go ahead.
And on Saturday, we shall be at the Marcus Lipton Youth Centre from 7 till 12. The Marcus Lipton Youth Centre event is a fundraiser for the Tabernacle Refurbishment Project in Shashamane, Ethiopia. And I must say that if ones go to Africa, that is where you see the biggest rise in Rastafari.
Sila.
In Malawi last year. And the youths were even looking at I in the West and saying, we're coming like we are the fake Rasta. Because we're not coming home in enough numbers. We're not coming with our skills to build within Africa. So for the future of Rastafari is Africa. Out here in the West, we can learn and we can coordinate and cooperate and build our communities. But we must know that the end product, the final destination, is the Mama Land, Africa, Alkebu-Lan.
All right. Tendai Mwari. Yes. I need to take Russ Iton. Tendai Mwari.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, sister.
Yeah, go ahead, Russ Iton. You got 1 minute. Go ahead.
Yes. You're saying where Rastafari is going. Well, Rastafari is going far and is strong and it's growing, because I'm living proof of that.
All right.
Youth today that rising up is conscious and is living the upful way. And this works that's going on that people don't really see. But there's a lot of works that's going on.
Mm-hmm. Give thanks.
Right.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
We have another caller.
We got another caller. Let me just take this text. Blessed love and greetings. Give thanks and praises for the beautiful show on Rastafari. The testimonials from your guests are heartfelt and touching. Give thanks to Galaxy Radio for making this possible. Bless.
Yes, I.
We have our next resident caller, Bob.
Brother Bob.
The legendary.
Brother Bob, you have 1 minute though, you know, Bob.
Brother Bob, you call late this evening, man.
9th hour. Come, Brother Bob.
I'm going to say two things.
All right, but all right, you got 30 seconds in each. Go on.
Quick. A well-established fellow in religion once said, the Tao that came in name is not the real Tao. The Tao is the way. Rastafarian is the way. Unfortunately, it's got a name and it's causing problems. And next thing I'm going to say is that you don't have to be a Rastaman to know Jah. You don't have to be a Nazi dread to be righteous. You don't have to smoke the weed to be a conscious man. All you have to do is know yourself, and Jah will understand.
Yes, I.
That's what I make up about 50 years ago now. Anyway, thanks very much, yeah?
Give thanks, sir. Give thanks.
Yes, I.
Yeah.
All right, so enough things are going here. Have we got 10 minutes left in the show?
I don't know. We can probably take one more call, but like a 1 minute wonder. But it's got to come now. If that call is coming now,
yeah, we want.
If that call coming now, it has to come now. Give me that. They've got a number of texts. There's about 10 texts. I want to read. And yeah, the text says, unfortunately, you keep texting the wrong number. So I'm going to try my hardest to just get some through. But we have to do some closing comments.
So if we can get the phone number, please. I mean, the phone.
Right. Can we get the closing comments from everyone?
Yes, I.
Let me take the opportunity to say here, any African or anyone who says that Rastafari is not relevant in this time, do not understand Rastafari, do not understand the history of African people and the role that Rastafari has played in the vanguard of the liberation of African people. You know, Rastafari, you have to understand how Rastafari evolved. You have to understand how Rastafari was born out of the vision of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Garvey. This is why Rastafari hailed Papa Garvey as a prophet. Because it is the utterance of Papa Garvey that gave the inspiration to the founding fathers and mothers of Rastafari to proclaim Emperor Haile Selassie as
look to Africa.
Because him said, look to Africa. Him used to quote Psalm 68, verse 31. Princes shall come out of Egypt, and Ethiopia shall stretch forth her hands unto God. And you have to understand Rastafari perceiving divinity in the personage of Emperor Haile Selassie.
How does that make understand? That's all well and good, yeah. But that's what some spookies in business in Rasta, right? So how does that make Rasta? How does that make Rasta relevant to today?
It is relevant insofar as Rastafari emerged to defend the culture and the history of African people, to defend African people against oppression. Are we a free people today?
No.
Are we a liberated people today? So how can Rastafari be irrelevant? Right. Rastafari, the movement is still growing. The message of Rastafari, the liberation message of Rastafari, is still as relevant today as it was ever before. Insofar as you see, even today, and there are some people who will hear Papa Garvey and yet would want to denigrate the importance of Rastafari. Yes. Many of us would never hear the name Marcus Garvey had it not been for Rastafari. It's Rastafari I used to chant when I was growing up in Jamaica. I didn't hear Garvey name in church. I didn't hear Papa Garvey in school. His picture was on the exercise book. And you heard he was a national hero. That was it. The first national hero of Jamaica. You never heard anything. And even today, we're still battling to get the Jamaican government to properly implement the Garvey teachings in the curriculum. Had it not been for Rastafari, the message of Papa Garvey, the spirit of Papa Garvey, the vision of Papa Garvey would be more or less dead today. Rastafari has played a fundamental role in preserving so much of the essence and the elements of the liberation fight of our people and maintain a level of consciousness among our people. So to say, for any African to say that Rastafari is not relevant today is to declare that we are a dead people. Simple as that.
One text says, don't forget Percival Howell. And those of you that didn't send to the text line, we can't open the text. If you might get 30 seconds in, 074 985 38784. 074 985 38784. If you want to send that text again, because that's the only way you're going to get it ready.
So please send it to the text line, Kings and Queens. You know, it's interesting. One of the main things that people talk about nowadays is the fact that the world, everybody's getting health conscious. And we're moving towards organic food and eating natural food and stop eating so much meat and, you know, genetically modified and whatever else like that. Rastafari was talking these things from 1930
something.
So it cannot be irrelevant. You know
no, it's a status symbol. It's a big industry now. Yeah. So and a status symbol.
In effect, Rasta was before, was way before the rest of the world.
And even even
we have 5 minutes enough.
Even the concept of laxing, right? As Sister Benji alluded to earlier on, that's an ancient African concept. It's not original to Rastafari. Rastafari evoke an ancient African tradition. Dada in Yoruba tradition. If someone is born with locks, because you have people who are born with locks. If you're born with locks, you're called Dada, which is a symbol of divinity. It's a symbol of spiritual height.
Yes,
so, Tendai
we have to closing comments.
Closing comments. SG vibes. Yes. I'm joking.
Closing comments, yeah? Yes. I take the first one because I'm like late. Anyway, we give thanks to each and every one who called in, all listeners. Blessed love to each and every one, the Galaxy family. But, you know, my closing remark is never forget that the enemy is always there. The enemy doesn't go to sleep. The enemy don't take a break. You know, and from pinnacle days, from the days before, from the fight against Rastafari, from the fight against African people, it hasn't stopped, and it's not going to stop because they never rest. So while we're there talking about all kind of things and this and that, remember, say we have the enemy right there fighting us down all the time, yeah, and we have to be like warriors, vigilant, and we have to continue this fight because it's relevant. Sila.
One of the texts says, rise up. I'd love to ask the Rastaman then why them name their group after the prince title rather than the emperor title. Ras means prince, right? And is it respectful to shorten Tafari's name to Ta when saying Rasta? What is the princess title for sisters who join the movement? Peace.
All right, first and foremost.
All right, question for the 9th hour.
Closing. Rastafari. Ras means head. Tafari is creator. So when we say Rastafari, the title that was Emperor Haile Selassie I's name, it means head creator. So we're not shortening anything. We're using it. In a sense, the Rastaman never first called himself Rastafari. It's the people designate I. But it's a justified title for I because we're calling on the head creator daily. As my sister said, as in closing, I would just like to say that the Rastafari relevance is that we have been the watchman. We have been the foundation layers, because when I was coming up in England here, just to say black was a big thing, right? And the Rasta youth, because we were children at the time, the Rasta youth stood firm on an African spiritual perspective that we are African people with black skin, Rastafari.
And next text, the spirituality is the way forward, and Rastafarianism offers a spiritual path for black people.
And just to say on the issue of the divinity of Haile Selassie, that the power, the importance of that to me as a conscious African is that Rastafari demonstrated to our people at a crucial time the importance of seeing divinity in our own image and after our own likeness. And that was a very powerful and much needed level of consciousness for our African people. That is a gift that Rastafari has given the African world at a very crucial
awakening.
time. 10 time more.
Yes, I.
Ras Jr., have you got a 30-second closing words? Ras Jr.?
As the Galaxy family. And in closing, that's a really not. This Rastafari is a livity and a journey through life. You know, so if one said they want to be Rastafari, they have to be prepared to become students of Africa, students of Garvey, students of Emperor Haile Selassie I, students of Jamaica, Canada, Grenada,
the world, the planet.
All knowledge has its relevance, but I and I must be conscious of how we use the knowledge, because the King says, which is a good thing for I and I, that he spent his life work raising the standards of living of his people. And then he went on to say that education is the key to all things in life. So I and I, as a people, must always learn first about the self. Because without a knowledge of self first, you don't have a foundation from which to move.
All right.
Every African, know thyself.
For your contributions right there, sir.
Last text, it looked like Elder, please mention INAP and Alkebu-Lan movements as a way forward also.
Yes, I. Another way.
Remembering the words of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie, who says, a people without a nation they can call their own is a people without a soul. And that sums up the importance of INAP, because INAP, the International African People's Parliament, is about nation building. Tendai Mwari. And also to just give brothers and sisters the number for those who want to make a contribution to continue to support our building appeal. Our bank account details are as follows. It is a NatWest bank account. The account number is 23503351. That's 23503351. Sort code is 560017. That's 560017. And the account name is Mama Africa. For further information, call 07908 814152. That's 07908 814152. And I close, as always, in the words of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Messiah Garvey: unite, organize now or perish. Rise, you mighty African people, for you can accomplish whatever you will. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari. Last texter, I want to be a student of Africa. I want to learn about Ifa and the Orishas to build a spiritual self. Where in London can we obtain this knowledge?
Tune in next week, Kings or Queen. We'll give you that information because we run out of we're over time right about now. So tune in next week as we continue to talk it straight and make it plain. Up next, we have the man called Brother SG Vibes with a musical selection specially for you. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari.
Alkebu-Lan presents Nomo, the informative and uplifting monthly session for the African family. This month, Friday the 29th of April 2016, Lioness on the Rise, Part 2, Sister Soldiers, Now and the Future. Featuring Nahandasan Kofa of Sankofa Rising.
Whatever we have lost can be reclaimed, revived and perpetuated.
And Toya RBG of Reparations March Committee.
I want to be a teacher in this and make the children learn about the reparations.
Come and have your say. Alkebu-Lan Nomo, Lioness on the Rise, Part 2, Sister Soldiers, Now and the Future. Friday the 29th of April 2016 at Mama Africa Culture Shop, 282 High Road, Leighton, London, E10 5PW. Doors open 7 p.m. and admission is a mere £3. Under 21s are free. Coming straight from work, don't worry, hot food will be on sale. Books, DVDs and educational materials also on sale. For more information, contact 020-8539-2154 or 07908814-152 or alkebulan.org. That's ALKEBULAN.org. Alkebu-Lan Nomo, supported by Galaxy Radio 102.5 FM, www.galaxyathiri.com.